You're talking about themes and the fact that our parents showed up and how it relates to Jojo Rabbit.
Yeah, it doesn't really though. They just kind of have parents that are there. That's the most
Okay.
how it it shows up.
Uh-huh.
But fuck it, we're already on the topic of Aizoken, so let's just talk about it now. Welcome
I
to
mean, do
ABC.
you want to say anything about
It was a good
Jojo
movie.
Rabbit?
It was a really good movie. I might actually talk
Okay.
about it more when it comes to Somali, mostly because
Okay.
it actually relates to Somali more than anything else.
Holy shit, this was the worst fucking lead-in. Oh my God, this was
All of
actively
our lead-ins
bad.
are the worst
No,
fucking
no,
lead-ins.
this is actively the worst. This one crashed and burned. We tried to take it off again and realized that it wasn't even a fucking plane. This is actively the worst fucking lead-in
It
we have
doesn't
ever
have to be a
done.
plane to fly, Nick.
Oh my God, it doesn't even have wings.
It could also doesn't need to have wings to fly.
God, this is like that SpongeBob episode where they're delivering the pizza. We basically found a rock in the middle of the desert. We're like, get on the rock!
Hold on, the rock
It's a
actually
rock.
worked though.
I mean, in SpongeBob, yes. In real life, no.
How would you use the rock to travel?
You don't. How would you use a rock to travel? You carve it into a wheel.
I was about to say that.
And you take a very bumpy ride in a carriage with your rock wheel.
You get four rock wheels and then you use your feet. It's Flintstones.
Technically, I think I only had two rock wheels. They were giant
Oh my
rollers.
god, yeah, you're right. It's very dangerous. But anyways,
All right.
I'll just fucking this is
So
ABC.
all of this behind us. This is ABC.
I mean, it could have been. It's probably just gonna cut it all. Anyways, we should do intros, or we can save it for the end. I don't fucking know.
Who fuck cares? I'm Nick,
I'm Brandon.
and it's just the two of us, like always.
Yeah, episode 90. So in Azoken, basically everything that we talked about last week about how we'd want to see more struggling didn't happen because they just skipped 2 months, about 2 months, and just skipped
Yeah,
straight to
something
the
like
end.
that.
Yeah, it's just skipped straight to the end where they finished the project.
Yeah.
Um, and most of this episode was exploring Tsubami's relationship with her parents,
Hmm.
as well as this really fun sequence where we're trying to get a bunch of people to watch our anime, and that's safe for the. And we watched the anime in the latter half. Uh, but this episode was just really fun, mostly because of just the way Kanamori was basically the head honcho throughout this entire school. We saw her fucking basically do everything, just plan everything out.
Oh, I disagree. I disagree. She did one thing in this whole episode.
She planned
I
everything
continue
though.
I continue to dislike this show because it's misusing Kanamori, in my opinion.
Okay, so
So
the,
what did you
what?
think she did?
She's basically just
I want
helping
to hear what
everyone
you
out.
think she
She
did.
was like the overlord, right? She was basically making. She was managing everyone, making sure they were in the right places, making sure that everything was going according to plan. And she set most of the things up. She got the AC for God,
The
what's it called?
theater.
The theater. She got the
Uh-huh.
theater, which kind of happened off screen, so that doesn't really count. Um, right, she set
See,
up
I don't remember her getting the theater. I
because I think
kind
it
of thought
happened
the
off
theater
screen.
was arranged by the Robot Club.
I
I thought the
don't know.
Robot Club got the theater. I remember her blackmailing the HVAC Club. I forgot that she did the Overlord thing for a little bit. But largely things happened regardless of Kanamori. Like the Robot Club's president's sprint through the school was his own thing.
What a
The
fucking
whole
mad dog.
setup with all of the people doing the robot costumes. I mean, maybe Kanamori was involved in that, but we don't know. That could have just been yet another Robot Club decision, much like the Rockets could have been a Robot Club decision. There's a lot of things that happened that we don't know that Kanamori masterminded. We only saw her do really two things, and it was kind of really just one thing, and then giving directions to Asakusa so she doesn't get caught, which
Uh,
wasn't super
Tsubame.
difficult. Tsubame.
Yeah. Asakusa was just handing
No,
out flyers.
no, it was Asakusa. It was absolutely Asakusa.
The short girl?
Yeah.
Wait.
Was it Tsubame that I thought for
Tsubame was
sure
running
she was
away
directing.
because
Yeah, but she just books it away. I thought. I thought Asakusa was the one who had to make the weird. Cause maybe I'm wrong.
no, because Tsubame's running away in the little robot
The
costume.
manta ray costume. I
Manta ray
remember
costume,
that.
and she
Yeah.
puts on the robot costume at some point, and
Yeah,
she
but
leads her into.
Asakusa's also running away
She
when
runs
she
away at the
sees
beginning when she sees the
when
red
she
and the
runs into
black,
the parents.
but she just runs away and doesn't really do anything. Like that's not a sequence. She runs
Okay.
away, and then it cuts to her saying, "Hey, I saw your parents."
All right. I guess I'm misremembering some details. But regardless, okay, so we see Tsubame running away, but it doesn't change the ultimate fact of my point, which is that like it's a minute and a half sequence that is mostly taken up by the robot club actually doing the distracting.
Right. Part of
Kanamori's overlord thing is like 3 instructions, so I don't really want to give her credit for that.
the robot costume things was also because of her. Was also because of her.
Was it?
She's the one that planned out to have the robot costumes being handed out to everyone, so that no one
Do
would
we
even.
know that?
Yeah, she says everyone the robot costume is our friend, and I guess
Okay,
he's meant
but
to
that doesn't
block.
mean she planned out the robot costume thing. That could have been a robot club decision that she knew about.
Maybe, but like it's not.
We don't see her actively creating that plan. Like we see her do the HVAC thing. We
Yes,
never see her do any of this other stuff that you're talking about, except for the
right,
overlord thing.
right. What I mean to say is like the implication is there is that she at least using all of those pieces.
Okay, she is using all those pieces. There is
Right.
no implication that she set those in motion, though.
Yes, that's true.
You are reading into it because you want Kanamori, because Kanamori is the type of character who would do something like this, and I wanted to see her be this way. But
Okay.
she's
Yes.
not. There is no actual implication that she has done this.
Right. So you just wanted to be more explicit that she actually did it, rather than
Yeah,
just she
it's
using
just
things.
things happen and she notices them, is what it seems like.
Okay.
Or she arranged with the robot club that they were going to do this thing. It's not Kanamori setting something up and telling the robot club dress like robots and distract people and get arrested by the paramilitary organization.
You mean the security club?
Yeah, they're a paramilitary organization. Let's get this straight.
Yeah. Okay.
They are M16s away from being a mercenary group.
Just from being police officers.
Yeah. But yes, so we have Kanamori doing her thing. I feel like she's getting underused by the show. You disagree, but that's okay. Um, was there anything else that you wanted to?
Sorry. And so, after Tsubame runs away, um, is about the time where we get the anime sequence where we watch the anime.
Mhm.
And yes, we watch the anime. This is directly after we see the Mad Lad Robot Club president
Yeah.
book it around the school, acting like an absolute fucking goon.
Mhm.
And he makes it to the anime screening where he's, voicing one of the characters because they didn't have time to actually voice him and bake it into the anime. And
Yeah.
Tsubame is the one that introduces it because she's there to basically use her position as a model and as being somewhat famous to just get people to crowd in.
Yes.
And it's also a way to kind of like show her parents like what she's done so that they can accept it. And there's a really
Yeah. Yes. It does end up that way. Actually, you're right.
Um, and shoot, okay, and then Asakusa sees like that she's kind of giving this quick little speech or kind of a hype moment, so she starts the anime screening a bit early and gets kind of cool shot where she's hyping everyone up, and that's when the anime starts with like that cool water crush effect. And yeah, we see it, and it's pretty good. It's a lot better than like the first one, but it seems like it got way too better, way too much gooder. Like the amount of quality skyrocketed for this one as opposed to the other one, which looked like it was done by kids. This one looks more like it was actually done by a much bigger group of people.
It does and it doesn't. I have conflicting feelings about the anime. There are elements of it that are good, and there are elements of it that, oh, I don't know how to put it into words. I just didn't like it.
The
Something
an-
about it, something about it
Wait.
put a sour taste in my mouth.
The anime proper or the anime within the anime?
The anime within the anime.
Okay.
maybe it is what you're talking about, where like it just got too good too fast, and like it didn't seem believable anymore, and I just didn't think about it. But something about watching the anime that they supposedly created just it didn't feel right.
Did you want it to be worse? Because I kind of wanted it to be a little bit worse.
I wanted to, yeah. I mean, we've talked about last episode where like I wanted things to kind of be wrong.
I felt like there were a couple of things wrong because like we see the little cup fling, and I was wondering why that was added in.
Hmm.
Um, I was hoping that they would some of the audience members would react saying like why is that in there? It's kind of it's a scene that isn't needed.
Uh-huh.
Kind of showing that they're kind of getting too stuck in their heads of like what they want to do versus like what is actually important for the story
Uh-huh.
of the anime they're making.
Hmm.
And that have that be kind of a source of conflict. But it's kind of just written off. It's basically just kind of written off, and it's
Yeah.
more of a callback to Subami's little backstory about how she learned and how she got inspired to start animating, which was
Hmm.
her grandmother doing a little twirly thing.
Yes. The show is very weird. Not just for like the whole HVAC club and the paramilitary organization that is the security club, but they both sort of factor into the weirdness of this show, which is it's ostensibly a high school show, but the more you think about it, the less it feels like it should be. Like, there is no HVAC club that exists at any high school, probably. There's no
Right.
security club in the way that it's depicted in this high school. Like, this feels like a real world type of show layered on top of a high school setting. Like, these girls should be adults in an actual animation studio in terms of like the problems that they're or like the stuff that they're up against in terms of like the HVAC club and all of that stuff. Like it feels more like it should be a real business and not a high school club.
I would attribute that just to like the quirkiness of the show itself, because it's just supposed to be kind of just off the wall and kind of a little bit weird. So it's kind of something you have to buy into.
Yeah, but it just goes back to that it leaves a bad taste in my mouth. Like something about this is just wrong. And I just want to say it would be more right if they were older. Like maybe if they were 20 and in college, it would feel more right.
Okay, I can kind of see that with like the
But
whole
there's just
circles and stuff as well.
yeah, but just the way that it is right now with them being ostensibly in high school, something about it just feels weird. Something like the whole plot just sort of it doesn't work together almost. They're creating this narrative of like the girls in high school and Tsubame doing her modeling thing and her parents and uh the you know contractor and whatever people that we hire like relationships and all these dynamics and the funding and getting the club room like they have all these weird storylines that just don't feel right in a high school setting. And like ostensibly you can just hand wave it away with like it's the universe. You just have to accept it. But like there's just so much in this show that like you just have to hand wave with you have to accept it. That like at a certain point I kind of just go, why not just change the settings so you don't have to do that? Like if you age them up to like 20 and they were doing like a junior animation studio or 22 and they were actually doing an animation studio thing, like then you could do this in like a real sense and not have to hand wave it away.
I think
But it
because I think it's trying to capture like an imaginative vibe rather than have it be about college kids who kind of have more stress in their life. It's just supposed to be about just exploration of just pure imagination.
well as far as I'm aware, Japanese culture is sort of the opposite of American culture in that like college you have way more potential for like expressiveness than they do in high school. Like in high school with their whole exams and or college admission exams and all that shit. Like apparently it's super fucking stressful in high school.
Yeah, but I don't know enough about Japanese high school.
Yeah, I mean neither of us know. From what I've heard, other than your first year, apparently high school is like super stressful, and then college is basically what we were supposed to have for high school, where you have way more
Grand
like
Blue.
time to do whatever you want. Yeah, Grand Blue is sort of like the depiction of that. Of suddenly they have way more time to do whatever they want. Whereas like we have stuff like this show where they're working all the time, and uh Yahari doesn't have it as much, but even then they have club activities until basically the sun goes down. So that's like 6 or 7 at night every day. I don't know what the end point of all of what I'm trying to say is, but just
Something feels off, basically.
yeah,
But
the
there's
more
like
I've watched this
it's too
show, the
hard to kind
more
of pinpoint.
yeah, the more something just feels wrong, and I just want the setting to be slightly different than it is. And I think watching that anime, the anime within the anime today, or over the weekend, was really what like keyed me into that like feeling in the back of my head. Where finally like watching how good it was for 3 15-year-olds basically doing everything themselves except for a handful of things. Like I feel like it should have just been shittier. And like there were plenty of opportunities that they could have like messed with things on the day basically. Like they were doing like the live voiceover, and like that could have gotten fucked up. Like high school students are not fucking good at live voiceover. Like that should have been way shittier than it was. And it was, other than the overacting by the Robot Club president, kind of okay. I mean, it wasn't atrociously bad, and I feel like for high school students, it should have been way worse than it was.
It wasn't that great either. It was just kind of like,
I mean, I'm not
eh.
saying it was good, but I'm saying for high school students, it should have been worse. It should have been less in time with what they were seeing, basically. They
Right.
were vaguely matching the voices or matching like the mouth movements, seeing it live for the first time and not knowing their keys. Like those Robot Club kids should not have known like the key of when they were going to speak, more or less without the stage directions. Like the reactions on those voice lines were too well timed. Basically, they should have been a little bit shittier.
If it was that way, it would have been played off as a joke, and I don't think it would have been like that important. I can see a version of this episode where it is like that, and some of the characters kind of laugh, and that's that. And that's Asakusa and Kanamori kind of like decide this discussion where Kanamori's like, I'm gonna kill them, and then that's it.
But that kind of goes into the fact that it is kids doing this in high school. Like things aren't gonna go right, and
Yeah,
you're doing live voice on the day of your performance. Like it's never gonna go well if you're doing live voice the first time. Like the first recording of this is at your performance that day. Like it's going to be sort of bad. Like that's just the way it should be. And like they talk about it in the beginning of this episode, the fact that they were doing this and it wasn't a good decision, but it's what they had to do.
mm-hmm.
So like even if it was not a long thing, like it didn't have to be a huge deal. It just had to, I feel like it had to
It
be a
had to be
thing they
acknowledged.
did. Yeah. And I just feel like they didn't.
Well, they sure shit didn't. There were some parts where like the girl, I kind of saw that the girl was kind of off, but like it wasn't really. Once again, it wasn't acknowledged. It was just kind
Hmm.
of the thing. I was hoping that the president would make more like noises with his mouth
Uh-huh.
throughout because he's just so excited, but he didn't.
Yeah. He just had some sort of overreacting or overacting, I should say.
He did have all that adrenaline pumping after that run across what has to be like a 10-mile fucking wide campus.
I don't know about wide, but it's certainly 10 miles if you include the fucking height of that thing.
Oh right, because it's like a fucking tower.
Yeah. He fucking runs like up 5 flights of stairs and then zip lines down.
What a trooper. He's a trooper, that man. Oh, did you see the accessibility club and the little robot that climbs upstairs?
Oh, I did see that, yeah.
That was pretty cute. Also, why was she in a manta ray costume?
There is no explanation. There was zero explanation for the Manta Ray costume.
That kind of just threw me for a loop. But anyways, at the end of the episode, we see we see the end of the anime. It's pretty good, and Tsubame and her parents kind of have a little heart to heart, and they're like, "Yeah, you can keep doing this. You're really good at it." They kind of mention how some of the movements are off because they were based off how she would move, and she kind of has some weird ways of kind of walking around. They mentioned this. They actually showed this earlier in like the chase sequence for her, where she's running and she's popping her arms forward instead of like side to side.
Hmm.
And one of the characters in the anime does the same thing, and it just looks
Yes.
super fucking goofy.
It's specifically the first time we see it, we actually see it more in like profile
Yeah.
when she's running inside of the robot costume, and it's got like two front holes and like two side holes where your arms are supposed to come out.
Right.
And for whatever reason, as she's running, her arms are poking out of the front holes, and it looks really bizarre.
I was wondering why they were doing that, and then it kind of paid off at the end.
Yeah.
But that cannot be a comfortable way to run.
No, it has to be very awkwardly like balanced.
Right. Also, she holds her chopsticks weird. Was another thing.
Yeah, apparently she like crosses her chopsticks over and uses them to like back pinch things, which is sort of weird.
But anyways, yeah. Basically, her parents are now okay with it. I think her mom was always okay with it. It was the dad who was like, "Oh, you want her to be an actress, don't you?" And the mom's like, "I don't really care. She can do what she wants."
Yeah, and this again goes back to like this whole modeling gig parents thing was something they sort of like set up multiple episodes ago. We've carried it forward until this episode, and then it just didn't fucking matter.
No, she just kind of.
Like,
It mattered in the sense that like they used it to get people to go to the show, but like it didn't become an issue. It was just
yeah,
nothing.
it was just a thing. I guess other than using it as a way to get people to go to the show, like the modeling thing was important. The her parents not letting her do anime thing was way less important.
I feel like that was the more important of the two because that actually kind of affected some of the plot points.
That affected some of the previous plot points.
Yes,
but I feel like in the impact it had in this episode, it didn't matter.
No, because
It was a conversation the two parents had alone by themselves where they realized like, oh yeah, I thought you wanted her to be a model, and the mom was like, I did way back when, but I realized a while ago that she's gonna do whatever she wants, and she's happy doing this animation stuff. She stopped caring about modeling when she started drawing for her grandmother.
Yes.
So I feel like the payoff for that was sort of disappointing.
There was no payoff.
Yeah, it just sort of fizzled and died, and it was pointless ultimately. Which I guess it also didn't matter at the time that it was, ostensibly a thing in the background because she was just doing a whole bunch of animating at home anyways because her parents never noticed.
Yeah. But nevertheless, this is the end of the second arc. I assume we're gonna have the last arc be about 4 episodes as well, because that's about how the pacing of the show is going, and we're coming up to that final arc with episodes 9, 10, 11, 12.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see where it kind of goes from here. Because at this point, they've secured funding. They are a club. They have like an extra member who's doing, audio.
Uh-huh.
So now, what's gonna happen?
Well, they were talking about in this episode turning the short into a full-on anime that they were going to sell. So I'm assuming what they're going to do for the last 4 is turn it into a movie.
I think they are. They're just selling what they showed. I thought they just need
Well,
to
they talk
dub
about at
the
the end
voices.
turning it into a movie.
Oh, okay.
They talk
that
about
seems that.
pre-orders.
I thought the pre-orders were for the actual thing they showed. That's the way I read into it.
I thought for sure that I would swear on my life at some point they talked about making it longer.
Okay.
That
So
this was like a demo, basically.
It might be that then. It might be like become a 20-ish minute movie. If it becomes a feature film, I'm gonna call bullshit.
Yeah. I mean, seeing as how what they have now is like 2 minutes, maybe
I have
maybe
no idea.
3. I don't remember.
3, 4
It
minutes.
was not
I don't
very
know.
long.
Right, because we unlike the other one, we don't see like the whole thing. We just see kind of clips of it.
Yeah, although it is supposed to be, I guess, played real time, interspersed with the conversation of the parents. So like, I assume if you looked at the timestamp of when it started and when it ended, that would be like
Yeah, but
technically the runtime,
yeah,
I
I
guess.
guess
But
two-ish
who
minutes.
knows?
So yeah, that was Azoken. Um, we're coming up to the Lost Ark, and we'll see where it goes. Next up is Toilet Bound Hanako-kun with the episode title Donuts. These are so sad donuts. Kind of.
Kind of.
They were grounded donuts.
They were grounded donuts. Is that what you just said?
No, they were ground donuts.
Oh,
Because
okay.
that's where they end up going. Well, technically they don't go to the ground, they go on the ceiling, but whatever. Or the
This is really working out for you. You should try and do more metaphors.
whatever. That's not a metaphor. That's just would it be a metaphor?
I don't
Round
know.
donuts? Yeah, whatever.
I went for something.
So yeah, Toilet Bound Hanako-kun. We get the episode title Donuts, where Nene makes some donuts with
Sun Wukong.
not Sun Wukong, Sun Wukong's brother, not Sun Wukong.
Yeah.
Completely forgot his name, but who cares? Because
Who cares?
not Sun Wukong is good enough. Because he's begging her to help him out because he doesn't know how to cook. They go ahead and make some donuts, which we kind of see a glimmer of, not a glimmer, but a reference to the fact that Natsume Wukong's kind of lying, because when Nene's gonna stirring the batter for the donuts, he tells her exactly what to do,
Yeah.
which is kind of weird. How he would know how to do that, despite the fact that he fucked up the last pair of donuts or the last batch of donuts.
Yep.
But it's a very charged scene where he this shows homage to Poltergeist, where they're creating the pot, the clay pot in that one scene.
If only the Righteous Brothers song had come on in the background.
Right. But yeah, he kind of carefully, motions how to do it by holding her hand, and they get kind of, bashful about it.
Yeah.
As they would do in anime.
Hmm. And being 14.
And also, well, I think he's like 15. Well,
Yeah.
but whatever.
He's 14. She's
Plus,
maybe a year older.
Maybe 16. 14, I think she's just a year older than Natsume Wukong. Because I think
Yeah.
she's a 10th grader.
Yes, I guess so. He's 9th or 8th. But
yeah.
anyways,
But
that doesn't matter.
yeah.
How old they are doesn't matter.
But anyways.
What matters is they hold hands while stirring batter sensually.
Well, Sun Wukong holds her hand. She's just kind of holding the stick.
Yeah.
The batter mixing stick. Not Sun Wukong's.
Spatula.
Yeah.
We're looking for a spatula.
It's not the spatula, it's a wooden spoon.
Oh, was it a wooden spoon?
think
I
it
just
was-
assumed they were using like a plastic spatula.
I mean,
'cause
I
that's
would be using a plastic spatula
debate.
because that's what you're supposed to fucking use, not a
Yes.
fucking wooden spoon, but whatever. And then Natsume Wukong's brother comes in, talks about how they're, why they're making donuts. And because Sun Wukong wants to keep it a secret that he's actually a good cook, he just shoves donuts in his fucking brother's face.
Yeah.
And then Nene goes off to give donuts to Hanako, who's kind of happy about, the donuts because he likes them.
Yeah.
Between this and the next scene, we actually see who the radio host is, and it's actually the green-haired girl.
Nick was right. Bow, 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 bow.
Nick was right. But I never said it wasn't going to be her. I said that was my second choice.
Wah. Look who is a salty fucking loser.
Not salty. Anyways, I guess just always just the friend who knows everything about the, paranormal, well, not paranormal, but like the rumors. She's, kind
Yeah.
of there.
She's just the character who tells us, the audience,
Through Nene.
whatever is going to be happening. Yeah, through Nene. But regardless, we see the radio club, I guess. I assume
maybe.
there's some sort of club.
The ham radio club, yeah, the AV club.
Yeah. Otherwise, they're just 3 or 2 people and a ghost in a room together broadcasting radio. I wonder how it even works. Like, do you think all the kids have like little CB radios they walk around with in their pockets, or is it somehow like project into their brains?
I assume it's just like an intercom thing.
Oh, and she just whispers like,
Not even
"This is a
whispers.
rumor."
Yeah, she just says, "Here's a rumor tonight," or something.
Have you ever heard about this? Well, then why doesn't Nene know these things? She goes to the school. Why is she not
Nene's
hearing
fucking
announcements?
stupid, Nick. As much as I like Nene, she's a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
But it might be some magical thing because the radio does look kind of mystical because they're in like this room and there's like floaty shit everywhere.
Mystical. Well, yeah, there is like weird floaty like eyeballs and ears and shit. The radio itself doesn't look mystical; it just looks old timey.
I mean, it's in a mystical room, and old-timey
Yes.
things in a mystical room are usually mystical themselves.
I mean, yes, but there's no reason just because it's old timey to be like it's magical. It's a radio from like the 1970s.
Duh, fucking older than that, dude. That's like from the fucking 1890s.
The 1890s.
Fuck, 1910s, whatever.
At most, I'll give you like the 1940s.
No, probably 1940s. Radio was what, like 1930s?
I could imagine, FDR doing like his fireside chats
1940s.
sitting next to those radios.
Early 1940s, usually, I think. Right, because I don't think he started doing them until halfway through the war. But yeah, it was FDR, and that was 1940s.
So yeah, so we'll settle on a radio from the 1940s that she is
Yeah, because that's
saying these rumors into, and somehow everyone is hearing them, and it's
well, only some
actively
people are hearing
changing.
them.
Only some people are hearing them, and it's actively changing the way that the fuck, what are they called? The wonders of the school are.
The wonders are just apparitions in general. Because like
Yeah.
not
Oh
all
yeah,
the
because he also changed the bunny things at the beginning.
they changed
I
the
forgot
bunny
about that.
things. They changed. I don't know if they changed it, but the tree from the third episode, fourth, fifth,
Oh right, the kissing tree or whatever it was.
the kissing
or
tree,
confession tree.
confession tree, and in this one, it's the kid who just holds your hand if you're changing your shoes.
Yeah,
I didn't really get it, but
neither did I.
so
We didn't hear the rest of what it was supposed to do to you because all we heard was it puts its hand on your shoulder and say, "Hey, do you remember me?"
yeah, we're not supposed to know what it does. I assume it's gonna come next episode where Sun Wukong on his adventure to fucking I don't know, shut this kid up because he's kind of fucking annoying.
Or have a same-sex relationship
That
with
as
a
well.
ghost.
But Sun Wukong would never I don't know,
Do what?
not want to go out with, not with Nene. His heart belongs to Nene, was what I'm saying.
Brendan, this is 2020. Men can date men and women. Be
They
more
can.
open-minded.
They can also date both of them, but I wouldn't suggest doing it at the same time. Unless they're both okay with it.
Sun Wukong could be a 3 on the Kinsey Gay scale. Shout out to the Kinsey Gay scale, my favorite scale, because it quantifies sexuality. I love it. All right,
Fuck?
but this aside, yeah, the Kinsey Gay scale.
Yeah, sorry. It's just some stupid fucking Amazon email.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So
I
yeah,
think
we
I've heard
drop
about
off some donuts with Hanako-kun,
it.
and
And then one of the little
he
fucking
is
bunnies.
happy.
What?
But then one of the bunnies basically,
Does some
we
shit.
find out, yeah, did some sus shit and dropped off one of the black paper cranes in the bag of donuts, and out pops our Dark Hanako.
And he kind of like is very I think that Hanako's a she, and I'll go into my
I do
theory in just a
not.
bit.
Okay.
But anyways, the other Hanako, the Dark Hanako, is very menacing and like mentions the fact that our Hanako, Light Hanako, has killed them,
Yes.
and and we see that Hanako's like fucking scared, like he is distraught. But eventually,
I don't know if I would say scared, but he was definitely shaken.
he's shaken. And then Nene kind of is able to shock him out of it by throwing fucking water on Dark Nanako because apparently it's the Wicked Witch of the West,
Yeah.
and the water dissolved it, and now it's just fucking.
Well, I mean, he did come out of like a paper crane, so maybe he's
Oh,
like
yeah.
influenced by the fact that he was paper for a while. I don't know.
It's a little weird,
This is just me spitballing.
right?
I kind of was going to assume that it was like this. The tea had been like blessed by the older brother
Oh,
to
right,
like
'cause it's his
poison
tea.
Hanako. So I was expecting it to be like the older brother was trying to kill Hanako and it just accidentally got used on the other dude instead, and that was gonna be like the thing. But nobody ever mentions it, so
Yeah.
maybe I'm wrong.
But anyways,
Maybe he was the Wicked Witch of the West.
yeah.
He does just melt.
then the Dark Hanako was like, "Oh fuck, I'm just gonna leave."
Yeah.
After
So he
saying,
rolls back to the radio room, and we see that while he was wearing our Hanako's like 1950s high school getup with the hat and everything,
Yeah,
he
he-
actually usually rolls around
But
in
something a bit
like
more
some
traditional.
1920s fucking Hakama. Yeah.
yeah,
So we now even less have a time period for these children.
well, we have a strict one for our Hanako.
Oh yeah, we do.
Like, do we have an actual date? Not, we don't have one for the other one.
don't have a date where he died. We have a date we know he was alive.
Yeah, but he couldn't have died. He couldn't have died much later. Well, maybe the rules kind of changed. Maybe he did die later and then got stuck
Yeah.
as a young ghost for
Uh-huh.
some reason. That could be a possibility. But the reason I think that the other Hanako is his sister, something like
Uh-huh.
akin to a twin sister, is because we know that they're at least related. Because green haired girl says that, why are you looking like your brother?
Hmm.
So I'm gonna take it at face value and just make that connection. They're siblings. That's, I guess, according to the show. I don't believe it's lying, and that's what I'm gonna believe for now.
Okay.
They're actually related. And then I'm gonna use my favorite thing. I'm gonna overanalyze the ending
Okay.
because there is a shot when Hanako is walking under that half mark where it's in the dark side.
Uh-huh.
On the other side, there's also another Hanako walking, and it looks like they're wearing a skirt. But now I'm
Okay.
starting to realize that it was probably just a hakama, and it
Yeah.
just kind of looked like a skirt. So I might be
Yeah.
entirely wrong.
Yeah. So if we're going to say that they're related, I'm going to say they're brothers.
Yes, these are
I
brothers.
don't.
I'm also reading way too much into the fact that he was in the girl's bathroom. I still want that to relate somehow.
That would be more of a compelling reason than the comma and the skirt thing.
But chances are the reason he's in the girl's bathroom is probably because he changed his rumors so to go to the girl's bathroom because he's a little perv. It's gonna be a joke, and I'm convincing myself that that's what it is.
You're just getting ready to accept that that's the facts.
Yeah, that it has no bearing on the story. It was just a joke.
Okay. I don't know anything. I don't know if I'm going to posit a guess as to the girl's bathroom thing. But as for our light Hanako, dark Hanako thing, I do think if they're related, they're brothers. I think they're twin sibling, both boys, brothers.
If
But the fact that the one is wearing the hakama
a
and the
much
other one
older
is
garment.
definitely died in like 1969, which means at the earliest he was born in the mid 50s.
Yeah.
I mean, if that one was wearing a hakama because that's what he usually wore, I mean, just at a guess based on Rurouni Kenshin, that means he probably died in like the 1920s or so,
Could be like
or 1910s.
maybe like a grandfather. But then why did the green haired girl call him brother? Right? Yeah, it's a little weird.
It's a little bizarre.
I like this show because there is like a nice mystery to it. Where we're constantly trying to guess what the fuck is happening and making all these wild theories.
Yeah.
And like, if we do take it at face value, I completely just disregarded the fact that there could have been a brother. That never crossed my mind.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, it's fun. But after
It
that
is.
scary moment, we have some Wukong going to exercise one of the pretend to exercise one of the apparitions. He really just captures him and takes him back down, takes him up to Hanako and the others. And he says, "Hey, what do I fucking do with this one?" And then Hanako's like, "I don't know, if I can just leave, go to something else."
Yeah. Figure it out yourself.
Yeah.
And so Sun Wukong runs away with the captured spirit, and he ends up talking to the captured spirit, and it basically accuses him of being a pervert
A
rapist.
lecture.
We also learn about his little ear tag. Apparently, it's an ear tag for traffic safety, which I thought was amazing.
That's just so weird. I thought it was like a Buddhist ear tag, like something about
Yeah.
Buddhism or some shit.
It's a joke that I feel like it only works for a non-Japanese audience, because like a Japanese audience could just read what it says and be like, oh, it's a tag for traffic safety, and like it's just a fact that he wears that tag for them. For us, like we saw that tag for so long, and we always thought of it as like, oh yeah, it's a tag for like some Buddhist thing or something, or like a prayer against evil or something. No, it's a tag for traffic safety for no fucking reason.
It could be like some sort of like style that like some people
I mean,
wear.
it certainly could be. I don't think his brother was wearing one, so it certainly could be a style decision, but
It's a
that
choice.
is a weird. It is a weird choice.
It's very strange. But we're gonna have to like change the rumor of the one kid ghost, the one annoying ghost, and we'll see
Yeah.
like how that goes.
I'm gonna touch your shoulder while you're putting your shoes on, ghost.
Right. Why do you do that? I don't know. I kind of just want to. That's just a stupid reason.
It is so weird because we don't know why he's even doing it. So it's sort of one of those rumors of, do we really need to change it? I mean, he's not hurting anybody. It's weird, it's creepy, but like it's not actively malicious.
Yeah, and it's kind of the point that Natsumu Kong is trying to get at as brother, is that some apparitions aren't really that bad. They're just kind of there.
Yeah.
But his brother is all about getting rid of all the ghosts. He's probably gonna have some sad backstory about how like Hanako killed his mom or some shit.
Well, I don't think we're going to see that backstory because we only have 5 episodes left.
3 episodes, 4 episodes. Wait,
5
no,
episodes.
5. I'm thinking of Izoken again.
Yeah, Izoken is the only one that has 4 episodes. The other two both have 5 episodes.
This is correct. But I forgot what I was going with this. But that's kind of the end of the episode. When I was watching the green-haired girl like start start hosting her like little radio show, I was hoping the episode was going to end there because I have no sense of time and didn't realize it was only just 10 minutes. But I thought that would have been a cool way to just introduce the end of the episode, just because she did that for the first like 4, and I just loved it. And now they're not doing it anymore, and I'm kind of sad.
It is kind of, yeah. I do wish they brought it back. I liked it.
It's like a cool diegetic way to kind of introduce the next episode for the show.
Yeah.
But I guess it can really work out every single time.
We also get a lot of, because we have Hanako getting shaken up by the appearance of his twin or family member of some relation. We get a lot of the weirdly shaped shots, I'll call them, where usually in anime you get like full screen or widescreen shots. A lot of the shots in the show, like we've talked about before, have like little cut-in moments of like, more simple animation.
Oh, do you mean like the moments where we'll have a background and then we'll have basically just half the screen filled with a character's face?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have like several moments of that, especially when Hanako sort of sees his, brother or sister
Brooder.
for the first time, and they leave, and Hanako sort of is feeling himself, and he goes away and hugs his knees and all of that. And we get like progressively like smaller and smaller shots of Hanako by himself to sort of like obviously show the isolation that he's feeling. And it's one of those effects, like as I was watching it, I was like, I guess it's their way of mimicking the way that you can only really show shots like that in a manga.
Yeah, that's exactly the way.
Normally they would do it like with really long shots or really wide shots. So they would show you a lot of stuff, and the fact that he's a little tiny thing in a really big space with nothing else around him.
What you could do is you could have like a standard shot and you just pan out, pan out or dolly back. But in this case, they keep the image still basically, and then just make it smaller and smaller. Yeah. And it's a different way to do it. And it's just a fun way to do it. They're really playing with how to edit, and I really fucking love it. It's just so imaginative, and it's so much fun to watch.
And I imagine like it's one of those. As I was watching it, it was really something that I would expect more from like reading the manga. Like in manga, you can do stuff like that because you can change like how big and how wide the panels are. So like I can imagine that sequence in the manga of like it's at like the bottom of the page and like one of the blocks is really big, and then there's like a little bit of smaller block next to it, and then a really bit smaller block next to it, and then like a little tiny sliver at the very edge of the page. Like I could see that like composition in my head of like how it would look to like really depict that isolation in like a manga shot. But like typically in anime, we wouldn't see that shot laid out the same way. It would be done like we talked about with some sort of pan or some sort of like super wide shot. But this is one of the only shows that I've seen where they like try and mimic that same effect of like multiple different shots building on each other, even if it's like it leads to a lot of negative space on the screen that they're not using. The show just sort of accepts that that's what's going to happen. And so we had a couple moments of like the background was just a pure white background with like maybe 1/5 of the whole background being taken up by a shot, and the rest of it was just all white. So I thought it was interesting. It was an interesting decision to just sort of accept that we're not going to use most of this space. We're just going to leave it as white space or black space and just use a little tiny piece for something.
Right.
That was kind of cool.
They're very deliberate.
Yeah, for sure.
Another little piece that I like is when we see the little pink bunny walking around, we get like a sliver of part of the screen, and the next one a couple frames later, and then the next the big one of the actual bunny walking, and it's kind of a nice way to kind of like ease you into what's going on. It's really cool. Once again, I fucking love it.
Yeah.
What's the next episode called again? Do you know?
What is what?
The next episode called?
Of Hanako? I do not remember.
Yeah, I don't know either. Donuts 2. More donuts.
Donuts 2, the refrying.
Yep. Do you fry donuts? I thought you more. I guess you do fry donuts.
You gotta fry them.
Yeah.
You fry them in oil.
But anyways, yeah, that's a little toilet-bound Hanako-kun for you.
We'll find out more about his family next time, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Who the fuck knows? I really hope they don't focus on that kid too much, or on the other ghost. I want to go back to what's going on with the Hanako and the other Hanako.
Oh, the shoulder touch ghost?
Yeah, I don't care. I don't really care.
That's fair.
Just mostly because I find the other stuff a lot more interesting.
Yeah. Well, we only have, like I said, 5 more episodes,
Yeah.
so...
Probably like a arc and a half left.
Yeah. I imagine it... Because usually, like, the last arc is, like, the climax of the show sort of arc, so I imagine it has to be something to do with Hanako's past.
It'll be a revelation for sure.
Yeah. So maybe we'll find out who he killed, or how he died, as I imagine the 2 big things that would sort of be...
Or both.
Or both, quite possibly, if they go hand in hand.
It was a murder-homicide. It was a homicide-suicide. Murder-suicide.
Homicide-suicide.
It was a shooty-steely.
Stabby-shooty.
But we can move on to our last show, Somali and the Forest Spirit. I keep wanting to say
Spirit.
Guardian.
It definitely should be Forest Guardian.
Because
He's definitely not a forest spirit.
I could have sworn they called him a Forest Guardian multiple times in the show.
I feel like they have. Or at least a guardian of the forest. Like, he is definitely not a forest spirit. That's
Right.
not a thing.
But anyways, take it away, Nick. Somali and the Forest Spirit. God damn it, I almost said Guardian again.
Okay. So we're still in the desert at the beginning of the episode.
Yes.
And basically we just talk to the dude and the bird lady for a little while about more or less their, like, the resolution to their problem. The fact that they both sort of have accepted, like, they're going to stay together and continue to try and find a cure for the dude, even though he's on, like, the brink of death. And one night, the golem and the guy are talking about the fact that the guy feels that the golem is lucky that he'll be able to stick around and see Somali grow up and live the rest of her life. And the golem's like, yeah, I've got 300 days left.
And
Which basically
holy shit,
confirms that,
it's been 200 days.
yeah, it's been like 150 to 200 days.
It's been about a
already.
year.
Yeah, almost. We're damn sight close to a year since the start of the show, or since we knew about the start of their journey.
Yeah, that shocked the shit out of me. Because
Yeah,
like 3 episodes
was
ago, it was
not
like
expecting that.
600 days, and now it's, yeah, I've got about 300 days left. A little under a year.
Yeah. Which I talked about it back then, and it has now suddenly become way more pressing than I thought it was going to be this early in this series, which is the whole, like, idea of when you give yourself a timeline like that, a number of enemies to kill, you know, we have a certain number of lieutenants, or in this case, an exact number of days until I die. It gets weird when you start cutting off days like that. Like, you cut off a huge chunk all at once. He only has 300 days to work with now before he has to find a solution for this. It starts to get sort of awkward.
You need to have a very strict plan and like stick to it.
Yeah.
Like whoever wrote this had to have like the plan of everything that's gonna happen. If like he does die on that 0th day, the plan has, like, you have to follow a plan to a T
Yeah.
to make sure nothing like gets too muddled or too awkward. Because then you have to like write in like making him live a little bit longer, then it gets just a little weird because you're kind of breaking your own rules unless you set up a way for him to live longer, and that's the goal at some point.
Yes.
But
And so we are pursuing a potential source for that goal, as our human tells the golem both about a place to potentially find out about a human or if human civilization still exists, where they could learn about where it would be located, and if there is something to do with the golem lifespan, where they could find, you know, knowledge about that as well, which is at the City of Witches.
oh, I missed the whole thing about the golem's health or the golem's life.
It was really like a very minor side plot. It
Okay.
only really came up while the dad and the golem were talking in that campfire. The golem mentions, like, I'm going to die in 300 days. And
Yeah.
the dude's like, yeah, you go to this witches city and they might have books about the human civilization and about golems.
Okay,
Like, that was the only time it really came up, was right there.
right. I remember the stuff about the humans, but not about him implying that he could help himself live longer through the books, which kind of makes
it,
sense.
it
You know,
wasn't
it's
implied that he
knowledge,
could. It was more like a if information about it exists, it would be here.
right?
So it's not like a guarantee that they'll definitely know, but he was like, if anybody would know, it would be the witches because they know everything.
Oh god, I'm so glad they went to the witch's village.
But yeah, so we hear about the witches and we
Yes.
decide, they know things. I only have 300 days left. So we need to head to the witches as soon as possible. So we come out of the desert, we split off from our bird and our human person, and we basically bid them farewell and hope that he doesn't die anytime soon.
Why didn't he go to the witch's village to find a cure?
I don't fucking know. Well, they did already. Well, they talked to some sort of like beholder about a cure.
Right. Okay.
I don't know why they didn't also drop by the witches thing to see, like, hey, is there a better cure?
Yeah. Do I have to kill a child? If no, please tell me.
What is the appropriate amount of blood to not be a bird person anymore?
Oh, it's just a little prick of a finger. Boom. Solved.
I'm sad they didn't ever try that. Like, let's see if it's a small amount of blood,
Right.
just to like test it out.
Better hope Somalia doesn't have some sort of blood diseases.
Yeah, some sort of bloodborne pathogen. Yeah, that'd be unfortunate.
I mean, it can't be
Regardless-
worse than what he has right now. But anyways,
Yeah, bird aids, definitely not. So they wander off towards the witch's village, and we get another one of this show's classic devices with a whole bunch of sort of static shots in a row to basically mark the passage of time and distance. They're okay. I liked them before, and now they're sort of starting to like wear on me. Like it's 20 seconds that I just feel like they could have done something better with. So
yeah,
I don't know.
they're cutting out time to try and keep costs down.
Yeah, I just wish that there was something else there. I liked them the first couple times, but I feel like they've leaned on them in like every episode now, and I'm starting to get kind of like I just don't like it as much as I did in the beginning.
I am
But
fairly about it.
okay, that's fair. But
Yeah, we
that
make it to
ends,
the
and we
village.
show up in the witch's village,
Yep.
where we get a whole bunch of stuff for free for reasons I was not super clear on, but we get a whole bunch of stuff for free for no particular
They just
reason.
kind of have it. They're like, fuck it, let's give shit away.
Yeah, they're like, here. They're basically like
It's-
Costco. You
it's-
show up
yeah.
and they're like, here, have this.
I was gonna say more about it's a drug dealer's free little hit of Mary Jane or cocaine. Here, have a pinky of some sweet coke, dude.
Oh my god! If you can't tell, Brandon has definitely consumed drugs in his lifetime.
You
Oh.
gotta inject the marijuana straight into your little sphincter.
Yeah, right into your little sphincter. Fuck.
That would fucking hurt. But anyways,
Yes. Stabbing your sphincter with the needle would hurt. Yes. Yeah, it would definitely not be ideal. But that aside, we show up at the library after getting a whole bunch of free shit, and we meet a witch who is also the head librarian, just a regular librarian. I
she's
don't
a
really
regular
know.
librarian.
Okay.
We know who the head librarian is at the end. Well, we're
Oh,
going
okay.
to meet the head librarian at the end
Oh, right.
because she's the only one that's read the book about the humans.
So we meet a librarian who's basically going to act as our director around this library because it's super expansive and they don't know where all the books are. So she whips out her little, it knows where all the books are book, and it tells her where to go to find a book on humans,
The little computer.
which I guess was some sort of like travel journal, I think. is
They say
basically what it's implied to
biography.
be. Okay. So they go off to find some biography. And when we get to where it's supposed to be on the bookshelves, we
It's
don't find it
missing.
there.
Yep.
So we go off to hunt down one of the bookworms, which is not a worm, it's a regular person who is basically hoarding a whole bunch of books in the attic.
But then we basically do get bookworm worms. They're just fish.
Yeah, they're just oil fish. And it is apparently they are nesting behind this book that that Somali pulls off the shelf because there are no fish in that room when they enter, and she pulls one book off the shelf and suddenly there's like 50 fucking fish. So
yeah,
they apparently just grow behind the shelves, but don't become a problem until somebody takes a book off the shelf, which seems really bizarre to me. But okay, that's
it's
a thing.
it's the way they evolved, Nick. Don't. It's God's plan at work.
Yeah, sure. That's definitely what this is. God definitely created all of these things in His image.
God created a fish that eats ink, old ink specifically.
Old ink-soaked pages specifically. It's not just the ink; he likes the pages too. But they have to be covered in ink. But the fish appear. We kill them with a whole bunch of penguins and then rose petals for some reason.
Oh, you know, she just
But
uses roses.
yeah, but that doesn't actually kill the fish. It just turns them back into goo, and the goo coalesces into a superfish. Somali, predictably, as a 6-year-old, doesn't really understand that the dangerous thing is definitely faster than her, and she tries
She
to,
fucking books it, and then
yeah, she tries to run away, eats shit, and drops the book. Tries to then protect the book with her body because if she dies protecting that book, it'll be super helpful.
she's a little kid. She
And
doesn't understand.
man, she really just doesn't use her brain.
Like
But the
most
golem,
6-year-olds.
yeah, true. But the golem jumps in the way and protects Somali, and basically goes into like angry angel golem mode, where like giant wings of bone needles come out of his back
It
and
becomes
stab this
Lilith.
fish. Yeah, he does kind of. But he
He goes
murder
in.
stabs the fish.
He goes into
And
fucking Terminator mode, where his eye becomes yellow.
yeah, his eye becomes yellow, and he's like, hostile detected. Activate instant kill mode. So
And
the wings come out, it rips the thing to shreds, and he sort of returns to normal, but now has an injured arm to go with his falling apart body.
yeah, kind of. I
Also,
guess his arm does get injured, but like, it's still working. It's just like the armor is falling off.
yeah,
The
the
ceramic
hard
stuff.
outside. It's hard to tell what part of the golem is like the important part.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, it's weird.
Because like we've seen parts of his armor falling off before, but we haven't seen parts of like the black underneath stuff falling apart.
Like the muscle lace stuff.
Yeah. So I don't know if it's like when we get to day 1000, if it's all just going to unravel all at once, or if like the hard parts are important to him. A lot we don't really know about the golem. Although to be fair, there's a lot the golem doesn't really know about himself
Yeah.
or hasn't shared with us. But in the fight with the giant fish, the book about the biography of this human was also ruined. And so, in order to see if we can learn anything from it, we are going to go see
The head
the
honcho
head
librarian.
librarian, who is the only person alive who may have read it and remember this book.
Which
So
was,
we were going off to see her next episode.
and most likely there'll be some sort of conflict about her not wanting to give information about the book, and then we'll have to find a way to, get the information out of her. I assume.
You never know. Maybe we're just going to go down there and it's just going to be a really long story.
Oh my
She's going
god.
to tell the whole history of the book for 20 minutes. And that's it. That's that whole
Honestly,
episode.
that could work if it's like a cool little like biography, like it changes to like some sort of kind of folk tale arts, not artsy, but like that one episode with the story that, oh my fucking god, the girl from the Fruits Basket tells about
Toru?
no, it wasn't Toru, it was a little bunny kid.
Oh, Momiji.
Yeah, about the really fucked up story about the girl who like gives away
Oh,
everything.
yeah.
Jesus Christ.
The German story.
Yeah. I once read this funny story about this girl who died. It
Oh,
might be
God.
like
I forgot
that.
that he prefaced that with, like, yeah. I forgot that he prefaced that story with, we read a funny story in class today, and it was not funny at all.
Right? But I was thinking of maybe kind of like that, like very fairy tale-ish. Because I always like moments like that. It's not very animated very well, but it just looks so beautiful and pretty. And I feel like that would work in something like Somali. But we'll see what
It
we
could.
get.
But yeah, so we now have more stuff happening. We still don't know if the golem is going to get saved. We're reminded yet again that he's going to die soon, though.
Much sooner now.
Yeah, much sooner than we expected. Overall, I don't know. The more we watch this show, I just feel like there's almost not a story.
It's episodic, basically. Each time they just kind of meet someone else and they kind of just travel with them. That's kind of like the way it's been going. That's been
Yeah, but like, there's.
there.
It
There's
just feels like the underlying narrative of Somali and the Golem gets so. Like, the attention it gets in the story is so all over the place that, like, I just almost feel like there's not a story. Like, we haven't progressed at all towards finding human civilization. We haven't progressed at all towards making the golem not be dead. We've just sort of aimlessly walked in a direction with the like hope of maybe somebody in the next town over will hear something about humans. Like nothing. We've developed no plot, like no leads. there's been no, other than like an emotional development between the two characters. That's all we've really had. There's been no actual like plot development.
Yeah, because I believe right now the emotion development is what's more important, and then we'll probably get the plot stuff a bit closer and closer as he gets closer to his death date.
He only has 300 days left.
Yeah, but like in terms of the narrative of this show itself, the closer we get to it in the narrative, it's gonna
Uh-huh.
matter more, right? Because I don't know how to word it, but like even though it's 300 days away, and it's kind of close we're in their world time, like
Mhm.
outside of it, there could be like 10 or yeah, like close to like 10 volumes of like story that happens between those days, which is kind of a lot of time for us, but not really for them, because it can kind of change.
It's true. It's just one of those things like with so much of the time passing off screen, because we've already lost 200 days as we found out, just due to like travel time between cities and whatnot that we never get to see. So like there's so much time that passes off screen that unless we suddenly like stick around in one town for long periods of time, like I'll always feel like time is just sort of slipping by at awkward intervals that we don't know about.
Yeah, I think we spent a lot of time in that one village before the desert because he has to get all the money back again. So he probably spent like a good month there.
Maybe. I have no idea. Because the timeline, like the reveal that he is like this much closer to death already was so shocking because it has up until this point not come up in so long that it felt like it had not been 200 days.
Yeah,
Like if it more, as much as it feels awkward, like weird to say, if it more frequently reminded us of how often he was going to, or how soon he was going to
at the
die,
end of each
if
episode.
it did tell us that, like if at the beginning of every episode it was like X days till death, at least then we'd have like a concrete number of like how rapidly death approaches.
I think at least in terms of that, I don't think they want it to go that way. They kind of want us to forget that the golem. Well, they don't want us to constantly remind us that the golem is dying. So, not early, but they don't
Soon.
want to give us an exact number. They want us to like know that he's dying, but not like when. And I guess that's gonna keep it in the same mindset as Somali. Well, Somali doesn't know, so that doesn't really
Molly
make
doesn't
sense.
know, yeah.
Yeah,
I understand that, especially because like it gives the author sort of the ability to,
yeah, like fudge time a little bit.
yeah, but at the same time, like especially the closer and closer we get, the more relevant how many days he has left becomes. So like right now with 300 days, like you could still go to like multiple different cities with 300 days, but like when you get down to like the final 100 or the final 50, like suddenly every day matters. Like spending a day not doing, not develop, like not having any plot lines or like not getting closer to not being dead or finding humanity, like it matters at that point. So it's weird, is all I'm saying. It's just as we burn days and we don't like so much happens off screen, it gets weird. Because like when we have in other animes with like X number of lieutenants, like we see all of lieutenants and we see them get killed or captured or whatever happens to them. Like you can count them down basically, and we know what's happening. Lieutenants don't just like go away off screen.
I feel like that's kind of, but then again, like that's more like each lieutenant is like a plot point rather than each day being a plot point in Somali.
It's true each day isn't a plot point, but like large chunks of days are.
Yeah,
Like what they do in a day isn't important, but what they get done in like the course of a month is sort of important because like 1 month is now 1/10 of his remaining time. So like if he had a month of not doing anything and just walking around this library, and he doesn't get any closer to finding human civilization or finding a way to not die, it would be a waste of 1/10 of his remaining lifespan.
hmm. So what I'm getting at is that you would like it more if it's in each arc we got a little piece of a puzzle of where the actual humans are, rather than the other, like, well, because what it's doing right now is the information we just had about, the humans being near the edge of the desert. That's complete bullshit. So we have to throw that out.
Yep.
Now we need to go somewhere else to get some more information, which might also be complete bullshit, and then it keeps kind of leading you on. So what you're saying is you
Yeah.
gotta want bits and pieces that create like an end goal. Like the end goal is somewhere over here, and with each,
Hmm.
as we get closer, we get to find out how close we are to that end goal and where exactly it is. Something like that.
Yeah, kind of.
Okay, make it a bit more concrete.
As you were describing it, I thought of the compass from One Piece, where like it doesn't tell you how many islands away from the One Piece you are, but it tells you where the next island is. So like as long as you go to that island and let it calibrates to the next island along the chain. It's like you're always working your way towards the One Piece, one island at a time. So like there's a certain like assurance with that compass that you will reach the end of the line at some point.
Right,
You
there's
just
always
need to keep
progression.
following it. And like that sense of checking off islands as they like get dropped off on an island and spend a week there to let the compass move to the next one, like there's a sense of like automatic progression there that I like, because it always feels like, okay, we don't know how many islands ahead we are, but we're one, whatever we are, like how many islands there are total, we're
We're
one
one
less now
closer.
because yeah.
Okay, I see that.
So like there doesn't even have to be like a quantifiable sense of like we're 25% of the way towards finding human civilization. If it was just like we're one more piece of who knows how many pieces closer, that would still feel good. Of like I definitively know we're at least one step closer than we were before.
Okay. I guess in an opposing view, I'm kind of like okay with it. I kind of like that they're kind of meandering through the world and exploring everything.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, that's Somali for you.
Do you think you were gonna go back and see any of the old characters?
No, never.
Once they're behind, they're behind. We never
Yeah,
go back and see. Okay.
I don't think we're ever gonna see any of them again. Um, like once we kind of have the story with them, they part ways and you keep moving forward. I feel like that's kind of what the theme of this show is gonna end up being, mostly to instill it in Somali, because the golem's gonna die and she's gonna need to move forward.
It's looking more and more likely that he will just die. Much as I didn't believe, it's sort of looking inevitable.
And so
All
yeah,
right.
that's the show.
Yeah.
What would you like to sell to today, Nick?
Well, before that, we are at more than the halfway point. We're basically beginning the last arc of all of these
Yeah,
shows. Is there anything among the three shows that you would want to change?
not really.
I complained a little bit about all of the shows, but you're mostly satisfied with them all?
Yeah, I'm fine with it all. Like, yeah, they're all okay for me.
No plot points you want different,
Not
characters
really.
you wish would show up again,
I
anything like
definitely
that?
wish that in Ezoken they did have a bit more of a conflict going on.
Hmm.
But as of just right now, just them kind of being kids and having like their imaginations run free is just fun to watch. Until like about Hanako-kun, I like the sense of mystery that they're making. And in Somalia, I kind of just like that they're just exploring this world, and we get to see basically something new each every other episode. We get to see something to see a new city, a new location in this world, and they're all
Hmm.
completely different from each other. Like in this one, we get the witch city, and it's kind of underground, but like under a big canopy of trees. I think
Uh-huh.
there's no direct sunlight. I know, and it's
Yeah.
just very cool. I like the lore behind the witches about how like they're basically just knowledge keepers, and they're using that knowledge to market themselves and get sell the food that they learned about, the clothes or the perfume and stuff like that. It's just really cool.
Mhm.
So the way they built that up is awesome.
All
Yeah, not
right.
really anything I would change.
Okay, that's fair. We'll check back in 4 episodes at the end of the season and see if it
Yeah,
all still you're still feeling happy with everything, but
I
at
don't
just
see
past
any.
the halfway point.
Yeah, I don't see any of these shows taking like just a hard left turn and be going to straight to shit. I feel like they've all been consistent throughout,
Mhm.
whether like great or just okay. Um,
All right, yeah,
but yeah,
I would agree. I don't really think any of them will be completely horrific, barring pulling a Babylon and just not having an ending, or Orisuke and not having an ending.
oh,
Babylon did have an ending, or
it
Babylon's
had an
ending was
ending. It's just
not good.
it
I
had an
just
ending I
didn't.
didn't like.
Yeah, it had an ending I didn't like. Orisuke did not have an ending.
It had a
So
cliffhanger.
barring not having an ending, I think all of these shows will be yeah.
I don't think
They're
they'll have endings. They'll have moments where most things are wrapped up, but just by nature that they're manga or light novels that are continuing, we're not
Mhm.
gonna get like a complete ribbon, like complete done
Yeah,
story,
true.
which really sucks. But that's just kind of the nature of what we're in.
It's true.
But yeah, that's episode 90.
Yeah. So I am going to sell out to a soul food place here in
Oh
Charlottesville.
my
I
god,
know,
of course.
Brandon was talking about he's gonna do a thing of selling out to manga, and I said I was gonna do a thing of selling out to sports things.
Never actually said I would do it on recording.
No, it's true.
That was
Well,
a
now
little
I've said it
secret.
that you're going to do
That
it
was an
on.
Easter egg.
Now I said you're going to do it on recording,
Yeah.
and I said I was going to do this other thing on recording, but I'm not because I consume soul food at a place called I believe it was Sally's, but I might be wrong about that. Here in Charlottesville,
Yeah.
it was a biblical experience. It was the single best food I've ever consumed in my life. Um,
So is
I
this
could have
Nick
in that
talking?
moment I could have died and gone to heaven happy. What was the question?
Is this Nick talking or the copious amount of cholesterol running through your veins that are talking?
Both.
Okay.
Absolutely both.
Right, because Nick is a copious amount of cholesterol running through
Yeah.
a body.
Running through a body. I am actually, much like food, I am gravy in human form.
Actually, a potato.
I'm 3 potatoes, pretending to be a person, yes.
3 potatoes in a
Uh,
soup.
but yeah, so I'm going to sell out to the soul food place in Charlottesville. It is the single best food I ever consumed in my entire life. If you come to Charlottesville for whatever reason, uh,
The Nazi
eat
rally.
at this place. I believe it is, yeah, not for the rally. Come here for completely legitimate reasons and go to my favorite soul food place or my favorite anything place ever. I believe it's called Sally's. It's the best soul food I've ever consumed in my entire life. Make sure you get their hush puppies. They are a biblical experience.
All right.
So shout out to you.
Good food is good food.
Absolutely.
I'm going to sell out to a little manga called Flying Witch. It is the story of a high school girl who is learning to become a witch, and she decides to go to high school with one of her cousins to kind of learn, like, the outside world. And it's just kind of a nice meandering story about her kind of living out in the country and then teaching her younger cousin how magic works. It's really fun, really cute. I fucking love it. It's one of those manga you read after a long day and you're like, yeah, this is perfect. Because like there's no drama, it's just an exploration of fantastical things.
All right.
Yeah.
There's also an anime to watch.
There is
People
also
are
an
also
anime to watch.
interested in that.
It was by Silver Spoon.
Maybe I don't know.
Silver Spoon's an anime. Never mind. But anyways, yeah, that's what I'm selling out to today.
So thank you for joining us for yet another episode of APC.
Yep. Thank you very much.
And Brandon's mic is holding it together for all of this episode, but in a future episode he might have a new mic, so he might sound slightly different in an upcoming episode.
Yes. Pulling back the curtain.
Yeah, pulling back the curtain for all of our 0 audience members.
You watch this shit.
But I'm not an audience member. I'm a cast member.
Oh, whatever. I think Jeffrey watches it sometimes.
Sometimes.
But yeah, that's the show. Bye bye.
I love you, Jeffrey.